Hi everyone, Cher here with, well, the latest Love Life news, and I'm going to make it brief because there is something else I'd rather be talking about than, well, that. So, of course, Love Live releases a new song for the School Idol Festival All-Stars game, Love the Life We Live, with the Nijigasaki group, and of course with the announcement of LANZHU and Mia joining Nijigasaki, the School Idol Club, officially. Of course, you have to have them in there. And of course, with the new chapter released and with that song announced and everything, the game also made the announcement that we should receive playable versions of Mia and LANZHU either starting tomorrow or sometime this week, maybe. Well, I'm just gonna flat out say it. We all saw this coming. We had a whole 15 chapters of the game or so leading up to this. Like, long, grueling chapters of Mia trying to get the girls to get along, grueling chapters of Shioriko, Ai, and Karin trying to get the two sides to get along, and chapters of LANZHU being basically the biggest anime bitch that everyone's seemed to come across in a while. Some people even argue that LANZHU is even worse than Louise from the familiar of Zero. And yes, it's because of that character that I never ever touched the show in my life. Like, you basically don't even have to watch the anime to understand how that character actually makes the show worse. And I mentioned this in my very short Monster Girls video about why I don't like the song, that originally I had planned to do a longer video about who is basically bringing the Love Life, not the Love Life franchise in particular, but at least the game that's been so rigorously asked for and produced for our own entertainment. What's bringing down School Idol Festival All-Stars? And of course, at this point, it's not a surprise that the character of LANZHU is basically the one that's destroying not only the game's reputation, but the Nijigasaki group's reputation, even though the girls of the group did nothing wrong. Like, the best way I can put LANZHU as didn't read, didn't bother to open the book as possible is that LANZHU is basically the trope, or basically the school bully, mean girl trope, Regina George trope, but the main reason that she's very unlikable, unlike Regina George, is that, yes, she had a redemption arc, but the redemption arc basically led to nothing. Because I'm about to spoil Mean Girls for a second, so if y'all have never seen the movie, I'm sorry, but I really don't care. This is to prove my point. At the end of Mean Girls, Regina gets hit by a bus, and when the school prom or formal, whatever it is, comes around, and Katie is actually given the crown as, again, homecoming prom queen, Katie makes a whole speech, and Katie's the Lindsay Lohan character. She makes a speech of basically how popularity doesn't really exist. It's just a construct to bring certain people up and make other people seem less, even though there is no, like this line between highly and lowly doesn't even exist in the school system. And she breaks the tiara into pieces, and she's basically said, it's just plastic. It's not real. And with that speech, Regina seems to truly understand that basically she had no popular status to begin with, and of course she changes her ways in her senior year of high school to become a better person. LANZHU doesn't have that, like I stated earlier. So I'm about to spoil chapter 28 of the game. So for those of you, again, like the spoiler said at the beginning, if you haven't got up to this point of the game and you didn't want to be spoiled, you should drop this video right now, because that's all I'm going to be talking about. So in chapter 28, after this grueling war between the School Idol Club in the school association, going head to head to see whose idols are better, LANZHU starts thinking about something. And that something is basically, yes, her underlings seem to admire her as an idol, and she likes the attention, but just because they're admirers doesn't mean that they're friends. And she's lonely. She's a lonely rich girl who doesn't seem to have friends. Gee, where have I heard this story a million times before? So you mean to tell us that this entire time, the whole end of the battle is going to lead us up to, oh, LANZHU's been a commanding, like, manipulative bitch the entire time because she's lonely? Because she's sad and doesn't know how to deal with her emotions? Please. She did not need this kind of arc. Arc has been done a million times with the tsundere trope, or even the himidare trope. This trope was even done in the Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. We don't need another Haruhi Suzumiya. We don't need a Love Live version of Mean Girls. We already dealt that with Starmue like a couple years ago with season 3. We don't need another Love Live arc dealing with the whole Mean Girls thing. We just don't need to hear it. And on top of all that, what makes me really uncomfortable even further is that they decide to give this even worse than Daya personality to the okay, I'm trying to rephrase this because I was about to say the only foreign girl, but that's not true. That they decided to give this personality, or this type of personality, to the only Chinese member of Nijigasaki. Which, okay, look, I know that China and Japan have kind of had a feud thing going on for decades, or even like centuries. And I don't think it's my place to talk about that because I really don't know all of the details surrounding, like, what occupation of what, or who fought, or who bombed what, or who shut up who in this case. So I really don't want to jump into that. But what I do know is that I see in a lot of material where the Chinese are not exactly shown in a really good light. I mean, of course, you get to Love Live Superstar, and of course, you get the foreigner and the Chinese girl in the group. The new group is actually shown in a positive light. At least Love Live did something right with that. But then they bring in LANZHU, who's, first of all, She's of course the crazy rich Chinese girl. Like, if you've seen Crazy Rich Asians, you know exactly the type of I'm talking about. She's crazy rich. She's bossy. Her mother is basically in charge of Nijigasaki, like how Kotori's mother was in charge of music school, how Mari's father was basically in charge of Aqua's school, and how Hazuki's mother is now in charge of the new school in Love Live Superstar. Basically, LANZHU is that character. They decided to finally add that to this whole thing. But I don't want to get into the whole discourse of why the head of this prestigious Tokyo school is someone from Hong Kong. That's a whole different story. I'm not going to go deep into that lore. That's not what I want to go through today. But yeah, I don't know why they decide to make LANZHU like this, because they could have made LANZHU LANZHU the type of rival character who is like kind of manipulative and bossy and wants her own way, but they could have given her, or the others who joined her, a lot better perspective. Like, the whole story could have gone like, maybe Karin, Mia, and Shioriko are drifting away from the association. Like maybe their old friends are pulling them to the club, and they start helping out the club more, and they start putting their alliance into the original club, and that's when LANZHU is by herself, and she does not have the idolization attention. She doesn't have, like, the admirers' attention anymore. And that's when she starts she starts thinking about herself. Where did I go wrong? What happened? What can I do to fix this? But no, instead how the story goes is that because she's lonely and her admirers are basically doing nothing to help replenish that loneliness, LANZHU just flat out decides to cancel the association for no reason at all. Because it seems the association was doing very well, but because she wasn't happy with it, she just closes it down and she doesn't tell her admirers why it closed. And then furthermore, she goes to her mother and she basically says, I don't like Nijigasaki anymore. I'm tired here. I want to go home to Hong Kong. To which probably everyone was screaming at that point, fucking finally, because we never wanted her there to begin with. But of course, they didn't want the end of the story like that because that's not teaching the power of love and friendship. So as LANZHU is going to the airport to leave for home, everyone else is running after her because they wonder why LANZHU canceled the association so suddenly. Why is she not talking to anyone? She must need friends. And of course, they get to the airport, they manage to find LANZHU there, and they manage to bring her back to Tokyo and say, look, you do have friends here. You can have friends with us. And I'm like, look, the message of forgiveness is important. It's important to forgive those who've wronged you because at least there's lesser bitter feelings there or no bitter feelings at all. But here's the thing. Forgiveness is deserved to those who actually are truly sorry about the situation that they put them in. That they would actually go to the victimized group and go on their knees and apologize and beg for forgiveness because they've seen the error of their ways. LANZHU has done no apologizing. Well, to be fair, she does apologize in the next chapter afterwards, but in the moment where she's about to leave, she has not apologized to anyone. She literally pushed everyone away and thought of that she was satisfied of going home because remember, she has no friends. And the whole thing is just, they were literally throwing her the bones that she should have been digging up herself. She did not have this epiphany moment of why do I not have any friends, basically. Through that whole chapter too, it was right after Shioriko, she had that fight. Like, I thought in this moment, she would run to Shioriko and ask for her forgiveness. But she doesn't do that either. Because remember, she and Shioriko are childhood friends. You would think as a childhood friend, LANZHU would have ran after her and begged for their friendship back. She never does this. Her solution to the problem is running away. Like a coward, because LANZHU is a coward. Instead, Shioriko had to run after her, and she apologized for basically doing nothing. I mean, to be fair, Shioriko didn't open up her feelings either, but that's besides the point. Shioriko was mad because LANZHU was so manipulative and stubborn. That's why Shioriko was mad. And LANZHU doesn't realize that. When she should have. I swear to God, this whole video could be a, rewrite of this whole entire arc, and it would take me absolutely forever to rewrite the story, like how people rewrite, Sonic 06 to make the story better. This would take me absolutely forever to do. But I feel like doing it. Because this whole entire LANZHU and Mia arc was done so dirty. They could have made LANZHU a more humanized character of this girl who got everything that she wanted. She was always super popular, but then when she started losing her popularity, or she realizes that this popularity has led her to nothing, just like how Katie explains it to Regina at the end of Mean Girls, we all could have at least sympathized or empathized with LANZHU's plight, but we don't, because she's a vaudeville exaggerated character of the crazy rich Chinese girl who gets everything that she wants, and when she doesn't, she throws a temper tantrum. And we don't like exaggerated. We don't like exaggeration. At least with the Muse girls and the Aqua's girls, yes, some of them are kind of exaggeration. Like, obviously, Mari is the exaggerated half Japanese, half American girl who, after studying abroad in America, she's fully Americanized, and she, of course, shouts random, like, American slang words into everything. But when she has that arc with Kanon on why they drifted apart after their first idol group failed, that made Mari human, and she started becoming more human as the show went on. And I really liked that. It made me love Mari more after that. However, so far in this chapter 30, because this is when they audition and try out for the idol competition to see which subunit of Nijigasaki becomes the representation of the Nijigasaki school, LANZHU still acts like the pretentious self that she is. Because I can't remember which one it is, part 2 or part 3 of the chapter, she goes up to Kasumi, who obviously still doesn't like her, and LANZHU just basically goes, "Oh, Kasumi, how come you don't like me? I've said I'm sorry to you, why do you not like me?" And Kasumi just stare, and even though Kasumi doesn't say it, the way they animated Kasumi's face in the scene, like, Kasumi's just looking at LANZHU like, are you fucking serious? You still don't get it?
Where are you going? To either get ice cream or commit a felony. I'll decide in the car.
And this is the first time ever, like, this whole arc thing, even before the Nijigasaki anime came out, this whole thing made me like Kasumi more, because Kasumi was right the entire time, and I hated Kasumi because she's basically the Nico ripoff, but except she's a freshman and not a third year. I can't believe I would actually agree and side with the Nico ripoff. But you know what? I did. Because Kasumi was actually right the entire time and no one was listening. And it drove me up the wall crazy. To end this off, I'm gonna prove another point with another character that I remember being a teenager and that everyone hated. So, for you Glee fans out there, I don't know if you remember, it was this TV show that came on, like, I think Fox or something like that. The TV show surrounded a Glee club or a choir club in this school in the Midwest where a group of kids who were basically outcasts from everywhere else basically and the whole show, all the characters are performing, like, past and modern pop songs of the time. Like I said, it's a musical TV show, which it really had not been done before. Like, Glee was kind of the first show to do it successfully. But now, of course, everyone remembers the show being, oh my god, their renditions of these pop songs are terrible. However, every time Amber Riley and Chris Colfer touched a pop song, it was absolutely amazing. So don't say that every pop song was terribly done, because those two rocked it. But yeah, so there's this character from the show. Her name is Quinn. And in the first season, she's, of course, the trope of the popular girl who gets pregnant, because every teen show needed to have that, for God knows why. But basically, during that, she's your typical archetype of the bitch bully. She's popular because she's on the cheerleading squad. She's pretty. She has an athlete boyfriend at first, until the boyfriend found out that she actually got pregnant with another guy. So, who actually turned out to be his best friend and teammate. Zinger. And, she basically had everything she ever wanted, and she bullied the outcast just because she can. And of course, the whole, like, getting pregnant thing was supposed to change her life, because then she gets kicked off the cheerleading squad because pregnant girls can't be on the team. Like, her parents even disown her. She basically she lost her boyfriend, she loses her friends, she loses everything. And that was supposed to be her redemption arc, I guess, but in every season after that, when she's not pregnant anymore, after she has her kid, who she gives up for adoption, by the way, every, like, episode in the multiple seasons after that, it's like she's learned nothing. It's like oh, after I've had this kid, I'm gonna try to regain my popular status again. It's like she went through the Regina George arc, but she didn't, but of course she was never given the Katie at the end of Mean Girls speech, so she thinks, oh, this popular status thing is still what I'm aiming for. To which I'm like, girl, you're in the Glee Club. You don't need that. You absolutely don't need that. And she's still mean to everyone else. She's still manipulative. She still tries to be better than everyone else. And that's why almost every Glee fan that I know absolutely hated her. Because I think up until the show's cancellation, the character learned absolutely nothing. And same thing goes with LANZHU come chapter 30. She learned absolutely nothing. She learned that the Nijigasaki girls were just gonna come after her and then magically fix everything, so she feels she doesn't have any responsibility, or she can't take responsibility for the past things she's done. This actually kind of reminds me of the Love Life School Idol project, the first ever series with Muse, season 1. Like, I still remember this, and I still don't understand why people like Ellie so much. Ellie, as the school president, student council president, has done everything in her absolute power to make Muse fail. She tried to block people from joining the club, even though that didn't work. She tried to make a bet with Muse that they couldn't complete. Like, I think she's even, like, threatened them at some point to disband. And she even, like, made this arbitrary rule that technically, because a school idol club, even though technically not a performing club, it was a research club, already existed, that Muse couldn't exist. But after the 6 girls already made that pact with Nico that basically they'll keep the idol research club, but they're gonna combine forces and basically put it as a research and a performing club, so they can appease Nico's wants. That basically gave them the right to finally become Muse, the school-funded club. And this absolutely pisses Ellie off. But, of course, at that point, she's tried everything. There's nothing that she can do. But you want to know why Ellie was so mean to them in the first place? Because she wanted to be a very famous ballerina, but when she failed, of course she was very upset, and just because Ellie failed getting famous in her art when she was a child, she had to ruin it for everyone else. I hate people like this. The people who failed before, so they try to discourage others from doing the same thing. Whether it's because they don't want them to fail, or whether it's because they're jealous, it doesn't matter. At least Daya did it under the thing where it's like, she, Kanan, and Mari tried to become school idols, but they failed due to a personal incident. And so now she's like, oh, she hates school idols now because they failed, and it's because of the personal vendetta between Kanan and Mari. But even though that still sounds bad, that actually sounds a lot worse. What Ellie did was a personal grudge. A personal grudge that had nothing to do with a friend conflict, but it was a personal grudge that, oh, if Muse happened to succeed, and because she didn't succeed, she has to ruin their chances. LANZHU was doing the same thing by creating her own association. Even though Nijigasaki inspired her to make her own club, she was trying to make Nijigasaki fail because she thinks she could do it better. But it didn't work. So because it didn't work, she wanted to leave, but the Nijigasaki girls were like, oh, she just wanted a friend. And they decided to go get her and basically try to pray the praises out of her, like praise her to death. And so she joins them. Like, this is the level of friend abuse that drives me crazy. LANZHU basically gaslighted everyone by saying, oh, it's your fault that I'm unhappy, so you have to fix it. And so they run after her trying to fix it because I guess because they've never had like negative feelings happen towards them, or they never got gaslighted before, so I guess they don't know the difference. It's like Love Life. by telling the story at this angle, you're teaching teenagers and children that being gaslighted by your friends is okay. And it's not. I've been gaslighted when I was a teenager before, and I didn't know what it was because I never had it done to me before. But now that I'm an adult, I know what it looks like, and I know it's not going to happen to me again. I've had boyfriends and people who thought they were my friends tried to gaslight me before, and then when I recognized what the behavior was, I told them, no, I'm not going to stand for that. But that's just me because I'm an adult, and I know what it's like. Children are very impressionable. So, and Love Live is basically the musical show that teaches about love and friendship and everything, almost like how every anime aimed at teens or kids do. So if you're teaching these kids and teenagers that because love and friendship is so strong, it doesn't matter that you're being told that all of this is your fault. If you try to fix it, everything's gonna be okay. It's not gonna be okay. It doesn't work like that in real life. You shouldn't try it. And characters that these kids and teenagers are gonna look up to shouldn't be teaching this. Like, I know I'm complaining about a stupid video game story. It sounds ridiculous. I know. But it's driven me crazy with the whole, at least Ellie situation. Like, Nozomi actually does get involved, and she actually does show Ellie the error of her ways. And Ellie actually does some attempt to fix everything and take accountability for action. So at least I give that a pass, even though I still don't like it. And at least in Aqua's, Daya, Kanan, and Mari finally tell exactly what happened. So Aqua's now knows that there was a grudge behind the scenes, and they actually got all three of them together to finally fix it. Actually, it was Chica who finally initiated it because she's like, I've absolutely had it with you three. You're driving me crazy. Now it's time to fix this. So at the end of the very day, now that this whole arc conflict is done and over with, I hope that they make LANZHU a better character. I hope they give Mia more material to deal with. I know I never really talked about Mia in this video because it's not really about her, and I don't think her character was actually done that badly. In fact, I think people sympathized or empathized with her actually more. Because, remember, Mia was pulled from the United States to be in this mess. So it wasn't Mia's fault. And I know Mia didn't really help with this situation, but it wasn't really her fault. This video is all about LANZHU because LANZHU was basically the catalyst to one of the worst video game anime friendship arcs I've ever seen of all time. Like, I've read really toxic young adult novels before, but at least with those, they didn't really anger me to the point that I had to talk about it. Because trust me, if I wanted to talk about it, I absolutely would have. But this, like, I love Love Live. I'm gonna continue watching Love Live. And I also pray to God that when season 2 of Nijigasaki comes out, I'm highly sure at this point that they're gonna bring Shioriko, LANZHU, and Mia into the story somewhere. Especially now since they've added them to the Love Live oeuvre, or the Nijigasaki team, that they're officially part of the group now, that I'm assuming when you put them in season 2, which will tackle, like, the end of summer, fall, winter seasons of the school year, they're gonna incorporate those three characters somewhere. Like, we've never had a 12-group Love Live group before. I know I've said that when Shioriko was at it, we never had a 10-member Love Live group before. Like, Nijigasaki is now officially the biggest Love Live group that we have, and Layla's the smallest Love Live group that we had. That we ever have. So, if they're gonna talk about Nijigasaki as a whole, like, you have to incorporate those three characters into season 2 of the Nijigasaki anime, at least. And if they do that, and maybe they will do that, I pray that their characters will be done better. Like, that they don't make Ai and Karin basically these mindless zombies to LANZHU's, like, beauty perfection or whatever. Or if they're gonna make the characters like fall in love with her at love first sight, because a lot of, you know, that's how like people get famous, I guess. That's how celebrities get famous, I guess. Like, I hope for when they do that, the spell starts to break suddenly, and that for the LANZHU arc, she finally starts taking accountability for her behavior, because the other characters take accountability for it. Hell, in the anime, in episode 2, when Kasumi reveals the backstory of why their first attempt at a idol group fell apart, it was because Kasumi was part of the problem. She even admitted that she was a part of the problem, and she wishes that she could fix it. Now she wants, and this was before she found out that Setsuna and Nana were the same person. She wanted to keep the club going because she loves it, and she knows she loves it, and she wants to make everything better. And in the Shizuku episode of the first season, she actually makes Shizuku see that not everyone has to like her, and her best friends, especially because like Shizuku and Kasumi are best friends, they're the people that matter. And it's because of this stupid arc that I actually got to like Kasumi. Or at least Kasumi is not the worst Love Life character I've ever seen. So at the very end of the day, there is absolutely no point into hating LANZHU the much that I do. I still don't like Monster Girls the song. I still think it's a piece of crap. But that's my personal opinion. I'm not going to tell you not to listen to it or whatever. And, oh yeah, I meant to kind of talk about Love the Life We Live, didn't I? All I'm going to say about that song is, even though I'm still going to listen to it like crazy, Nijigasaki is just going to be that group that every time they do a full group song, that it's more and more going to sound like, Love You My Friends and Need Jiro Passions, isn't it? Like, they're really going to make every new song sound similar to the last, aren't they? And no, that is not a compliment. So that's it for today's video. I know it's very, very long, but I feel like everything I've said here needed to be said. And if you guys liked this video, please hit me up down in the comments and hit the like button. And if you guys haven't done so already, my socials down in the description box below. All my social accounts are down there. Hit the notification bell, hit the sub button. Make sure you can follow up with all of my future videos. I'm Cait, Cher, and it's been real. Ciao!